Hello guys and welcome to the video. So today we're going to be reviewing the Eivors. Now I'm going to try and do this in a little bit more of a professional manner, and I'm going to be rating them out of 10, and these ratings are going to be based off of three things. Their job, so the job that they're doing, the reason that you're even bringing them on your team. Versatility, how much can they be spread around the game? Are you using them in PvP? Yeah. Are you using them in PvE? No. Just stuff like that. And then their stats. Are their stats even good? And if so, are their stats matching the things they need to do? Right? I wouldn't want a unit that has all these great assassin abilities and their multipliers or their stats don't match. Right? I wouldn't want this assassin unit that is supposed to nuke have an attack stat of 600, I want them to have a good attack stat. So, with all that being said, let's get into it. Fire Eivor. Now, the Fire Eivor, I rated as a 7 out of 10, right? Now, reason being is because the job you're going to be you have her as is as a siege defense, right? She's a siege defense monster, but I don't really see her as too much else, right? I don't see the versatility, right? You could use her maybe in PvP offense, but I don't see why you would. If you bring her for the stun or the defense breaking, is like there are other units that do that. And if you're like, oh, well, her passive makes her a very tanky, annoying monster, then maybe that's why. But not only that, again, I mentioned PvE. It's like, where's she being used in player versus entity type content, right? Nowhere. I'm sorry. You're not using her anywhere. You could. I'm not going to doubt that you could find a way to use her. But the fact that you're going to be having to build a team around her, it's just like, no. No way. So, yeah. But her stats are okay. I mean, they kind of match what she's doing. I mean, 11k HP is okay, is pretty decent, but the defense is not that great. Her speed is average. But let's get into her skills, and then we'll move on to the next one, right? So, first skill is a defense break with a 40% chance each. Of course, when I refer to these skills, I'm going to be referring to them as if they're fully skilled up. So, it's a 40% chance each. Skill 2 attacks the enemy 2 times a stun for 1 turn and decreases the attack bar by 50% with a 70% chance each. Additionally, the inflicted damage increases by 50% if the enemy is under inability effects every 3 turns. Her passive recovers the HP by 30% of the lost HP if you don't get attacked during the enemy's turn. Additionally, the damage inflicted on the enemy increases by 50% if you have half or more of your HP remaining. So, you could build her in a couple ways, but essentially at the end of the day, she's a tank that you have as a siege defense. She'd be a very annoying siege defense, and it's like, if you make assumptions on like how the enemy is going to do it, or attack, it's like if you know the enemy is going to be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to aim for Eivor, because I know Eivor is going to be annoying to take down, then I'd say build a team that kind of revolves around Eivor. Or don't. Who honestly cares? But I think the 7 out of 10 is a fair rating. I think she's really good at her job, but everything else is kind of meh, right? Her stats are ordinary at best, and her versatility is awful, right? You're not using her in a lot of places in this game. Let's move on. The Water Eivor. So the Water Eivor has better defense than the Fire one, but worse HP. Just to note that. Her leader skill is about the same. Same first skill. Second skill is different. Attacks the enemy 3 times to inflict dots for 2 turns with a 70% chance each every 3 turns. It's cool. Her third skill grants up to 3 effects of the Might of the Clan according to your stats when the battle begins. Attack power increases the damage dealt to enemies by 100%. Defense decreases the damage received from enemies by 30%. And attack speed removes 1 beneficial effect granted on the enemy with a 50% chance or 70% chance if you attack on your turn when fully skilled up. So, this unit, I rated a 9 out of 10. I know some people might not agree with me on that. I think it's a 9 out of 10 unit. I mean, depending on how you build it, she can do massive amounts of damage. She could strip. She could reduce incoming damage. I've seen her strip into a defense break. Not only that, all of her skills are multi-hits. Both of her skills are multi-hits. So 2 hits, 3 hits. Each one of these hits has a chance to strip. with a 70% chance. This is really good. You could build her as like a speed assassin that has strips, defense breaks, and does 100% increased damage. Or you can have her as a support unit that strips and just decreases her incoming damage. So it's like it makes it harder for her to die, right? Or you can have it as all of them. So she's a support that can take a lot of damage but also dish out a fair amount of damage as well. It really depends on the quality of your runes, but it also depends on what you need. I think she's very versatile. You can use her in a lot of PvE content as well as PvP. Decent stats. Good. She's good at the job you're going to have her in. I think 9 out of 10 is a fair assumption. If you wanted to argue 8.5, fine. But I'm not going any lower than 8.5. But ultimately, I'm saying 9 out of 10. She's a good unit. I'm going to show this comment right here. Thumbs it up. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Oh, never mind. I already recommended, I guess. But the best comment right here. He shows the stat thresholds. Shout out to Undead Champion, I guess, for helping test her passive out. She's a good unit. I personally like her. Let's move on. So the Wind Eivor. The Wind Eivor, I rated a 7 out of 10. Reason being is because for the job that you have the Wind Eivor doing, she's fantastic at her job. But I would literally give, if we were rating on just job alone, for the job she's doing, she's definitely up there with, the Water Eivor. She's, I would say, 9 out of 10 in terms of, what you're using her for. But when you're talking about stuff like versatility and her stats, that's where she starts to lose points. She's not versatile because you're only using her as a daughter. So, when you're in areas where you don't need someone who dots, she's not even close to being a pick. Not even as much as a first pick. But then when you're talking about her stats are worse. I mean, let's go to a 10k HP is essentially almost the same as the Water Eivor. Worse attack and defense than the Water Eivor in the same speed. Right? The same exact HP, but worse attack and defense. So, for the job she's doing, she's fine. But other than that, she's worse. But same first and second skill as the Water Eivor. But the third skill is attacks the enemy 3 times to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn each. And attacks the enemy once more to explode continuous damage granted on the target to additionally deal the corresponding damage every 4 turns. This, right here, I think is good. You can use her in a Lucian. I was thinking about all the potential team combinations you could use her. And I think if I can get her on this account, my Sath Melee account, I would like to test her in this team. Lucian as a lead, Sath, double Melee, or sorry, not double Melee, double Eivor, Thrawn. And you're like, that sounds stupid. Hear me out. Wave 1 starts. Thrawn goes first, because hopefully your Thrawn's the fastest there on the team. Thrawn goes, attack buff, immunity. Lucian goes, amputation magic, boom, first wave is done. You go on to the mid-boss. Thrawn uses her first skill. Lucian uses his second skill. Sath goes, uses his second skill, or his first skill. Regardless, he's going to put a dot on the enemy. And then the 2 Eivors go. And regardless of which one of these skills they use, by the time both of their turns are finished, that mid-boss is dead. Third wave hits, is a repeat of wave 1. Thrawn gives immunity attack buff, Lucian does amputation magic, and now you're at the boss stage. And then it becomes a repeat of the mid-boss. If not, maybe at the most it takes a little bit longer. But essentially, you got yourselves a minute less, or less, team here. And you wouldn't necessarily have to have these Eivors super maxed out on crazy runes. So it's just I think they're good, but that's all they're good for. But, moving on. Next up is the Light Eivor. Now, the Light Eivor, I actually like. At first, I wasn't, too keen on this Light Eivor, but I really love this Light Eivor right now. Let's talk about it. So, I rated her a 9 out of 10. Now, for any person who just looks at her skill set and you're like, I don't see where the 9 out of 10 is, let me explain. One, her stats are phenomenal. Her attack is great. But not only that, out of all the Eivor, she has the fastest speed stat. 118. Phenomenal speed. Especially since that matches with her kit. Her speed matches her kit. So, same first two skills as the Fire Eivor. But her passive gains immunity against an ability effect. So she can't be stunned, she can't be frozen, she can't be slept. And increases your attack bar by 10% whenever an enemy or an ally gains a turn. I think that is insane. That's insane. So, if you even use her on week 1, because we all know week 1, we all did the collaboration dungeon, and they let you use the light Eivor, man, that light Eivor was getting turns like no one's business. I can see so many ways you would build this chick. Violent Nemesis, Violent Will, whichever. I really want this chick. But she's essentially shitting out turns like no one's business. It's easy to build her super fast, faster than the enemy because she has 118 speed. But not only that, she can deal a decent amount of damage. She has CC. It's just like, you can build her really, really good. It's like, I could see her being used a lot in PvP. I don't really see too much in PvE. But again, her stats earn her job, you know, the thing that you're actually using her for in PvP, she's so good at it. I can kind of forgive the versatility. So, to me, I think she's a 9 out of 10. If I get my hands on her, best believe I'm using her a lot in PvP. She's a great PvP monster, super fast, craps out turns faster than the blink of an eye, I think. And again, CC. Good crowd control. Not great, but good. I would definitely say Violent Will or Violent Focus. Speed, HP. Or you can go speed, crit damage, and then HP or accuracy or whatever. I have no idea, to be honest. You can go either one of those ways, and I won't exactly argue. Next up is the Dark Eivor. Now, this one I was unsure about, kind of, because it's just like, first skill is the same as the other ones, but this one is the same as the Wind in the Water Eivor, with the dots. But then her third skill is pretty good. I like that third skill. Increases attack power for 3 turns on all allies, and attack bar by 30%, and afterwards, all allies except yourself attacks random enemies. So, I could see this being a great opener in, like, PvP or whatever. So, it's just like, this girl I was more confused on. So, I couldn't give her an exact rating, but I rated her anywhere between 7.5 up to 8.5. I'll honest to God, leave this up to y'all. But her HP is great. I love her HP. It's good for a support type unit to have good HP, you know. It means you could sacrifice a little bit on the HP stats and focus more on accuracy for the defense breaking or for defense and speed, whichever. But an attack buff, attack bar pushing, and you get a little bit of damage off. I mean, imagine entering an arena battle, popping her third skill off, and then getting a little bit of damage in without having to use the turns of your enemies. I mean, and you could bring like a Vertiheal, where it's like Vertiheal will go and use his first skill, so you're definitely boosting your attack bar even more. I mean, the possibilities are endless with how you use this chick. She could either be really, really, really broken, or she could be ordinary, but I don't think she's bad. But let's see what other people think, if I'm being honest. Swift broken. A broken Swift set. Or Swift broken. I'd say Nemesis. If you're gonna at least do this, go Nemesis or Will. But 204 bonus speed, Yeah, go for the speed, go for the HP. That's how I would do it. They almost got her fully skilled. Fastest set, pair with 2 strong damage dealers, and sit back knowing you're better than most people. Um, Best Eivor, I wouldn't say that. She's pretty good. You know what? I'm going to say... I'm going to give her an 8.5. You know what? I'm going to give her 8.5. I'm going to be fair. Because this third skill is a great opener. Again, an attack power buff and an attack bar buff or push. And plus, all your allies except yourself attack random enemies. Again, you could bring a Verd. And you know, a damage dealing unit and another support. And you're good. Your entire team is getting the first turn regardless. So, I think she's great PvP. PvE is like whatever, right? I don't really care about her PvE. So her versatility, I guess, is pretty decent. Her stats are good. And I think for whatever you're going to be using her for, which is, again, an opening support unit that helps you deal a lot of damage. It's like, again, endless possibilities for skill 3. I like her. I like her a lot. I would definitely recommend building her if you ever have her, and just test her out. Bring like her and a Verd and just tell me how that goes. But those are essentially all my ratings and reviews for the Eivors. I'll be honest, the Eivors didn't disappoint. The Eivors are probably one of the first few families that we reviewed out of the collaboration that where all of them are at the very least decent or better. So it's good to see that, you know. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.